Tug lightly on this bowl of mine. Well, my screen has seen some better times. Well, my buddy poked a hole.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
Reena, honestly, do you know, every week I want her. And you know what she says? Oh, I'm going to Toronto. Today she's like, I'll set my alarm. What, are you fucking sleeping?
I know. Because I'll forget. Already.
Wednesdays, there's no markets in Toronto, so.
No, there's no market.
I saw the bingo
Actually,
nights.
There is.
Bingo nights.
There is a market today. As a matter of fact,
Is it not working?
There's I don't know who's putting it on, but there's a market now on Wednesdays as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of...
Oh, you know. You get a little bit of this and that. It's all green. It's all green.
What's that?
Is awesome. I haven't been in a while, but Canacade is fantastic. Literally, I swear I'm not lying. There's so much happening. Like I'm having a hard time keeping my head.
Okay, so I want to know all these things. I think people that are listening want to know all these things because I don't even know what's happening. All right, so let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Higher Estate, where we talk about all things around cannabis, cannabis industry, cannabis as a medicine, cannabis as a community, cannabis as a, whatever, life. And because really that's what it really brings a lot of people together and is really helping to change the paradigm of how we see our society even a little bit. And it even law, right? Even has been, everything's been affected. The way that everything's changed, and it's thanks to the people who advocate for cannabis, I think. Anyway, one of them. So, who do we have on today? By the way, I'm still coughing. I have been coughing for a year now. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to avoid doing that. Turn the mic and do all the things I have to. I did an appointment with the doctor. You would all be very happy because I think I have one of three things. TB, like tuberculosis.
Let's just breathe it all in.
Well, yeah. I mean, chronic cough. I don't get night sweats, but I have chronic cough.
I get night sweats.
Or I have like emphysema. Or like cancer or something.
Oh God!
But I mean, like
cause you to cough?
You could if not a tiny tear. You get a pneumothorax, but like a collapsed lung versus a tear in your lung. If you have a tear in your lung, that's bad. Probably don't have a puncture. But I probably, and I definitely, you would for sure know. But I mean, it's something chronic going on. But what I will tell you is when I came back from skiing last, like while I was in the Alpine, no cough, gone. 3 days. It's like it went on vacation.
Wow.
Go to Wasaga Beach. So the second cleanest air in Canada.
Wasaga?
Wasaga is?
Wasaga Beach, on Wasaga Beach, right on.
When I was growing up.
Is I went up. I'm actually true to that. My aunt told me that, and then when I sleep at home, no, I sleep at home. I wake up every day, stuffed up nose.
Your aunt. It must be true.
Stuffed up nose, feel like crap. Sleep in Stainer or Wasaga or Collingwood.
Stainer.
Seriously, I wake up here, no stuffed up nose, nothing.
Yeah, you know why you're saying that? It's like he's advocating.
I know it's stuffy all the time too.
I hear
air
it.
Quality here.
We'll
look it up. Wasaga air quality is super high.
You know why he's saying this? You can't make me laugh. You know why he's saying this? He's advocating for all these small towns he lives in.
I live in Georgetown, man.
And you should go to Georgetown because it has the best air quality in Canada.
I drive into Burlington here every day. I do what I love.
Does Georgetown have the best air quality?
Georgetown's air quality is crap.
How do you know?
How do I know? Because we're not far from Brampton and all that. like that. It's the industrial stuff.
Yeah,
All the industrial, it's right in between us, and we get the pollution from that. And then there's a huge refinery in Milton that burns garbage, so that also is really shitty for our air.
Dude, did you swear?
We're downwind.
You can see the refinery too. You can actually see it from the 401. You drive past it every day. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get started. Let's introduce everybody who's here first. As usual, we've got the co-host next to me here, Tyler. Hey, what's up? What's up, Tyler? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm looking at air quality in Wasaga, and yeah, it's good.
I'm not going to give this one up.
No,
he's still looking it up. What does it say? Let's throw it up.
All right, Wasaga Beach air quality.
Best in Canada. Max yield.
I do know that they were selling bottled air from there.
Oh, they're selling bottled air.
Yeah, from Banff and from Wasaga, they're selling bottled air in China.
What are you going to do? Stick your...
Well, when you're walking around China, still wearing
so you're going to do this? Hey! Guys, I'm going to sell people air, too. I think it's a genius idea.
The original place I saw this was on 2 Change's TV show
for
the rich and wealthy.
Oh, my God.
A bottle of Banff air is like $3,000.
So is it like a canister?
Like it's a canister of air, and when they're walking around China, the air is so bad.
Look at it, though.
To take a hit off that air.
It was a lot more. That's all that's left.
Oh, my gosh.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
And purple.
It is beautiful. So, hold on a sec. Bottled air. Okay, you for the longest time we had a lot of credibility, and then you talk about, man, they bottled air.
Oh my God.
They bottled air. What kind of bullshit are you spewing? I used to believe you.
Yeah, but people bought
oxygen in a can, air
Right.
products. Look at this, how expensive this shit is.
How expensive air is?
Yeah, man, people buy it in China like crazy because their air is bad. Trying to breathe air from Banff.
So that's
like
$3,000. Dude, do you not think by using
it's air? Like here's some of the cheap stuff. Premium twin packs.
Oh,
like
so you're okay. They're talking about compressed air.
Yeah,
air you inhale and you breathe it in. They breathe it in.
No,
how long would a canister last you though? Compressed air.
Hit it hard, it won't last you very long.
Hit it hard. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's
air hard.
It's actually a real industry.
Yeah,
so when you go,
okay,
so here I get right. So now I understand what he's talking about. I thought he was talking about taking fucking.
No, not just toilet screw.
No, those are the fart jars.
That's what I thought he was talking about. I'm like, no, look, let's put some air in the jar.
People do that with farts.
It's compressed.
Oh my God.
Oh God. Okay, so now I get it. You know, like when you go to like to an oxygen bar, you're not really getting oxygen. Right. You're getting air.
Compressed air.
Compressed air. You're not getting compressed oxygen.
Yeah.
Because you need a prescription for oxygen, which is weird. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oxygen is a prescription.
Wait, is there more oxygen?
I thought life, being alive, isn't enough.
Yeah. So you can get and so that's why you with the nasal, like the pieces you put on the ends of this compressed oxygen will change how much oxygen you get out of it. You can either get you can either get 2 liters nasal. Well, it tells you how much oxygen and how much flow and what percentage you're getting through that oxygen.
I always feel so
it's
bad
weird.
when
It's
I
a
see someone
prescription.
with that.
It's kind of weird. Yeah. I feel like I might need that next time I go down the hill. You guys are gonna see me carrying this friggin' oxygen tank with the thing on my nose.
You go high enough in the mountain, you'll need one.
Yeah, well, or just on the surface. I walk into Canacrawl, I need one.
You may.
It's possible.
Last time I
Yeah.
I was happy.
Okay, let's. Are we over? Listen. So Wasaga Beach, we've now identified that his and therefore by default,
Great air.
Tyler believes has the best air quality in our Canada.
Next to Banff.
Is that what it said? So it said Banff. Banff.
You already closed that window.
Look up the canisters.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Who else? We've got Al. Al is producing this thing. Al, you're producing. He's broadcasting live over through 420 Radio. Al is on our handy little Bose speaker. Hey, Al.
Hi. How are you?
How's it going?
Staring at squirrels desoleil outside of the trees here while I listen to you guys ramble.
How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm really medicated, and that's the way I like it.
Do you have your shatterizer on?
I do. Always, dude. Always have my shatterizer.
Because Hours, that shadowizer around his neck helps his brain. How's your pain?
How's my pain level?
Yeah.
Absolutely zero right at the moment. But if I move, then it's there. I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks. I just want to sit on the other line. All right, we'll keep you over there, Lucas. Behind the scenes over there.
Another Georgian Bay, Muskoka, Ontario.
Oh, look, he's still on this fucking air thing.
Muskoka, Wasaga, Ottawa, Kelowna.
I just spent 20 years up there.
Maybe it's going to tell me
it's
I have to move.
I swear, when I used to sleep at my aunt's house in Wasaga, when I was working up in the grow there, I noticed a difference sleeping there one night. I'd wake up completely clear. Seriously, it was a big difference.
I just changed my air.
They would smoke cigarettes in their house as well.
Yeah.
So that's even, I was clean after that.
Wow.
And they smoked cigarettes in their house.
Really?
I just spent 20 years up near Mount Forest, which is the second highest elevation in Ontario.
Where were you?
Mount Forest, Ontario. 3.5 hours.
Like higher than Hamilton Escarpment?
It's the second highest elevation in Ontario.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is that, 400 meters?
I don't know, but their motto is high, healthy, and happy.
Mm-hmm.
The higher you go, the thinner the air, probably. I don't know.
You get a little lightheaded.
It was different. It was different breathing up there when I moved up there. Yes, definitely. The air is definitely better. A little poopier.
Yeah, and we'll just look. When I'm driving from Georgetown into Toronto, I can see the smog over even Mississauga. Down the roads.
Yeah.
It's not like like California though. The smog of California is horrible. The truth is,
Toronto's bad too.
Toronto is bad. There was a warning already once this year.
Oh yeah,
Really?
we used to live on the 18th floor, and sometimes when it was really bad, we couldn't see the ground clearly. No joke, we were at smog level.
Really?
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, there was an air warning in Toronto. Yeah.
So maybe that's what's going. Okay,
Hamilton's air is probably really
aside
bad.
from the TB, emphysema, or cancer, maybe I just have allergies.
Hamilton's air, you're right around a bunch
Oh,
of
yeah.
really
Yeah.
nasty stuff.
Hamilton's horrible.
We're doing a lot of industrial stuff in Hamilton, steel, all that burning all
Lucas,
night.
you're a man.
We're putting
Thank
a
you.
ton of crap in the air.
So, because here's my thought. I had some reactive airways growing up, like asthma or whatever, but I would get asthma in Muskoka from the grass and all the,
You had
whatever.
asthma?
Yeah.
And then you grew out of it?
I don't know what I did with it, to be honest. It could have been I just didn't want to go to camp.
It just went dormant?
I never, honestly, so here's a little thing about
It
me.
might be allergies.
I never did really well at camp. I was like the worst possible kid at camp.
Hey, at least you got to go.
But I'd last like a week. I'd light the cabin on fire, and I'd get out of there. I remember one year I drew a crucifix with propane with like lighter fluid and lit it on, but barricaded in the cabin. I was just such a dick.
What type of camp was this?
It was like a Jewish camp. What else the fuck was I gonna do? It was but it's not that I was a bad kid. I just like to have fun, and I never listened well, Mom.
I was the same way.
Yeah, I need to be, unless there was a sport. Baseball camp was the best thing in the world for me. Where people are better than you, and you have to. It's always better for me to be in an environment where people are better than you, so that you're humbled, you're focused. It's game time. You want to achieve.
Raises the bar.
Raises the bar. And I'm not. It's not intimidating. It's for me. It's like a challenge, right? Mm-hmm. So you accept it. Anyway, I go to these ridiculous camps that my parents forced me to go to, and I think I also got really homesick though. I had an issue.
Yeah.
I think I'd cry myself to sleep.
Which kid isn't homesick?
I was 8 years old. I fell off the top bunk. I remember at camp, smashed my head in the middle of the night. Nobody gave a shit. None of these counselors are snoring logs. They could care less about. There's things you can.
I didn't realize you were alone.
Right. At this same camp, it was in Montreal.
Oh my God.
At this same camp in Montreal, every night, and I was 7 years old, I heard chainsaws. like every night. So I was like, for sure, and it was the same time that Friday the 13th was out.
Yeah.
Leatherface was coming.
I thought for sure. Yeah, I thought for sure I'm gonna die in this place. It was the scariest thing. I was like afraid of the dark till I was 12, you know, because and then I find out there's like a mill, like when they saw logs. What's that called?
Okay. Millwright?
No, it's a logging company, whatever. Yeah. A logging company, like right next door, and they're in forestry and they're cutting down trees. But to me, I thought the world was ending. Like, oh shit, I fall off my bunk, nobody cares. Every night I hear chainsaws going. I'm 7 years old.
That's scary as shit.
Yeah, scary. Now I love the dark.
And you're hearing that, and it's dark, Craziest, and your parents aren't there,
and nobody cares. Like,
holy crap.
Yeah, and now of course, like I love the dark. Like I love it. But you know, and being in confined spaces, I'm like my favorite.
Yeah, you slept in that cabin by yourself at the retreat.
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, holy,
and my,
not me.
And my favorite place to relax is in an MRI machine, where like nobody can contact me, leave me alone, and all I hear is you know, like in the MRI, making all those noises.
I've never been in one of those.
Confined space, like
I will never, ever, mark my words, Ira, I will never go into an MRI again. Ever.
Oh, really? You don't like it?
Terrified me.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never done it. I had my head stuck into something like that when I broke my jaw. Was that a CAT scan?
No, CAT scan just goes in and out. It's just a round little donut.
They just stuck my head. It was in the States. Stuck my head in. I was
claustrophobic for me.
Broken jaw.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering about. I thought it looked really claustrophobic.
I would save you the money of the CT just do an X-ray. Oh, right, because you're
great
scholarship.
Even though my jaw got broken outside.
How
of
the
school,
hell did you break your jaw golfing?
No, I danced with the wrong. Actually, I was dancing. I'll never forget. The girl had green hair, so I just made this. I can't dance with any girls with green hair. And I was dancing, and I got punched from both ways in a crowd of people, and I couldn't see anything. And then I woke up the next morning, and my jaw was on the other side of my face. It was broken in two places.
Shit.
I didn't feel it when it happened. I woke up, and I was like, oh.
So you got punched by
people. Man.
Yeah, took a cab home. It was fine for the rest of the night until I woke up. Jaw was literally...
Who? Did you see these guys?
No, I was in a crowd of people on a dance floor.
Really?
2 hits, and then I was like, oh, left, and yeah.
Really?
I broke jaw the next day, and they wanted to wire it shut, and that's what I refused to do.
Yeah, I know.
And then
wiring.
Have
you ever seen
my teeth for like 3 months? I wouldn't wish broken jaw. I've broken other bones. Breaking your jaw is the worst pain.
Breaking your jaw.
Breaking your jaw.
It's your whole head.
It just constantly throbs. And anytime you try to talk, it hurts. It's horrible.
And how do you can't, you got to suck through a straw and then the sucking
I
sucks.
literally blended White Castle burgers and ate them. I was so hungry one time.
Really?
And it was
Do you go to In-N-Out Burger when you're there?
I was in Missouri, so there's none in. You got to go south. But when I go to Vegas or any West Coast, In-N-Out's the first place I go. Every time.
Animal-style fries, man.
What's that?
Animal-style fries, animal-style burgers, doubles. Yeah, that's my stuff.
It's funny.
We recently went to this restaurant that had 1 pound burgers. I can't remember what it is, and it's in Hamilton, and they delivered.
What? You're going to have to tell me.
O'Donnell's, I think.
O'Donnell's.
Oh. 1 pound.
A 1 pound burger. It took me all day to eat it.
It's not O'Neill's.
O'Neill's. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're the chef. I forgot. Yeah, interesting.
I think they recently changed management.
Oh, really? Where is that?
They're on Barton.
Oh,
Barton,
really?
just
and,
east.
I mean, the food was amazing, but the burgers, I mean, too much.
You go to McDonald's, you get a quarter pounder. That's a pretty big sandwich.
Well, on that note, let's introduce you to Reena.
Hey, what's up?
Reena's like, she's been a staple to this show over the last year and a bit.
It's fun.
Third time, I think.
I think so.
Everybody can. I thought these things, by the way, were directional because every time I cough, my sister's yelling at me saying it's annoying. Stop coughing. I can't.
It's not just going to do that. I mean, it's still going to get it a little bit, but it
helps
a lot. Yeah.
Fine. I'm sorry, guys. There's nothing I can do. It's the air quality.
Have you tried oregano oil?
Yeah, I've tried it all.
It's not
oil of oregano, spritzy, like I've tried it all. I've tried the cannabis, bronchodilate. I've tried Flovent, Ventolin, prednisone, cannabis.
Prednisone?
What are those things? Flonase. I've tried everything.
You tried Breathe Right strips?
Breathe Right? Oh, like the ones you stick on your nose?
And you open it up when you sleep?
No.
Try that.
The truth is, I think I also have sleep apnea, so it can all be.
Use the Breathe Right, man. You'll never wake up stuff
I even have like a guard in my mouth to help me breathe. Guys, I'm falling apart.
Hey, we all are.
Like, nothing.
This has been a public service announcement from Dr. Ira Price.
Once you hit more,
build them faster, we can build them better.
All right, Reena. Al, we're going to talk to Reena first because she's got to be out here in like
15 minutes.
Screw it.
Sorry, guys.
We're not going to let her leave. Can I have her phone?
Sure.
Yeah. So, Reena, you've been. We actually had you as a guest, or you're always just coming and going?
No, we had her as a guest.
Yeah, I think probably the first one. Yeah.
So you're there's a couple things happening. One,
actually, this is my fourth time.
Yeah, she's her fourth time, but most of the time she just sits here and says, "Oh hi," and then takes off on me. But now you've cut your hair off.
Cut my hair.
It's good.
Yeah, it's too many grays.
Yeah, well, I got the same problem. You don't have a single damn gray.
Yeah, it's called Miss Clairol.
Oh, okay. Is that what it is? So there's a couple things happening. One is I want to know what's happening with the restaurant business.
Yeah.
2, I want to talk about what's happening with Canacrawl. And 3, I want to talk about cannabis amnesty.
Sure.
And all things that are happening around here in Hamilton, Toronto, then you're the person to go to. So start talking. Spill the beans.
So restaurant-wise, unfortunately, as we know, there's not a whole lot happening. Myself and I'm sure hundreds of other restaurant owners and, food entrepreneurs and foodies alike, we're waiting and hoping and wishing that, 2019 was going to be the year that edibles and
Heather,
the
I'll call you
ability
back.
to serve edibles was, going to be
that
included in the framework.
Yeah,
and it's the reality is I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. They're still trying to figure out proper dosing.
Didn't they just come out with a guideline?
They came out with a guideline.
Cent per milligram.
Yeah, and I really don't know how that's going to work. For recreational users, you know what? I have to say, sure. And I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, honestly, for newbies, I absolutely say yes. Keep it low, keep it microdosed because they can always have more.
Yep.
But at the same time,
that's the general population.
That is the general population, and I do think that that's a good way to go.
Otherwise, the argument for me would be, why isn't beer 25%? You know what I mean? Like for the person who drinks every day. So
which is strange, right? Mm-hmm. So of course, those who have a higher tolerance, like myself, I'm not going to be probably medicating on my own microdosed edibles.
Right.
But it certainly works for those who don't have a lot of experience because they get to gauge their experience gradually and see how they're feeling and decide whether to go further or to stay where they're at or let it wear off a bit or what have you. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely the safe way to go. In terms of regulations, a lot of us are still kind of standing there with our hands tied behind our backs.
Why? What do you think is really putting us at a disadvantage right now? We don't know the milligrams per... Didn't they say 10 milligrams per package at some point?
For entire package.
Yeah, you can have 10 milligrams in one package, but then you look at there's 10 milligram capsules. They sell them in capsule bottles for 60. It's the same thing. It's an edible.
Yeah.
Yep. So do they mean, what if you individually package within a package?
It's just a lot of waste.
Yeah, and it's a lot of waste, and they're not currently allowing that. People have suggested that. I don't think it's going to stay where it's at right now still because I don't think that they're happy with the current regulations. You're seeing articles coming out about discussions about them even changing it down to 5 milligrams, looking at medical doses and now, probably reanalyzing all of that. So, things are going to be really wishy-washy, I think, for quite a while.
Like the next 5-6 years?
I honestly think so. And until then, I think most of us are going to be kind of sitting on the sidelines, figuring out creative ways to continue, in a legal way, to be able to still maintain our existence and keep our brands going while, not heinously breaking the law, if you will.
How is your brand? How do you find that?
It's tough.
It sucks.
It super sucks, yeah, because I have a restaurant. I have the whole setup. Literally, if they had provided the framework for which, for us to do this, all I have to do is change my signs. I mean, I have the setup. I have the know-how. I have the knowledge. I can create the product from, my supply. It's just nothing has been worked out. And, I was sitting in on a webinar for Restaurants Canada a few weeks ago, and from what I perceived in that conversation, we're so far off the mark. I don't know when this is going to happen. So yeah, it's unfortunate because this is definitely and obviously a healthier way, a much healthier way for people to medicate and to enjoy, consuming cannabis. It's also a great way to introduce it to the new masses socially. And I can't tell you the amount of inquiries I've had, even Now Magazine, someone from Now just before Christmas contacted me. She's like, I'm having a cannabis Christmas party. Can you help me? I can't legally go anywhere and get any, official advice, but I know this is something that you've done, And, I can't tell you just how much of a demand there is for it already.
Oh, yeah.
And no means by which to provide these real services.
Yeah, it sucks, because you're right. Everybody, you say it's legal, and then you tie everybody's hands behind their back. An industry, if the consumer wants something, they have nowhere to go get it. Now, what do you think is going to happen with the legal cannabis stores? Do you think they're just going to sell dry cannabis for
now? But they're slotted to carry edibles too, right? These are going to be the outlets for edibles and other
edibles, compounds.
But the edibles they can only get from a licensed producer.
From a licensed producer, yes. So
it doesn't really leave any craft. Where's the craft in any of that?
There's none, and there's none anywhere really. It's all disappearing, and that's what so many people are still fighting for.
And Al, you just said today that there's more raids happening.
Yeah, in Hamilton, yeah.
Happened. Well, I didn't hear about any of them.
MMJ is gone.
MMJ, I heard, was closed down.
Yeah, just today was the old Delta 9. They call it J Spot now, and they were raided and shut down today. And it was very recent, so it could very well be going on still.
Yeah. Delta 9, not the LP Delta 9.
No.
It was Delta 9, but like you said, it's not.
Well, a guy at the gym that I go to, he was rolling all the joints for MMJ, and they just basically, and that was his only job. It was given him, so he's a nice guy, but that was his job.
Look at how many hundreds of people are out of jobs.
Yeah.
Families no longer being supported.
Well, and they also got fined.
Charged, yeah.
Charged and
lost their job. Yeah.
So MMJ is gonzo. Mm-hmm. Now, did they all close on purpose in order to prepare for legalization next year?
No. So I don't know if you remember this. They were kind of at an
impasse.
Yeah, and so Clint
lost
parted his ways. He went this way, and the team decided that they wanted to continue and push forward and just exist. So they decided that because there were no guarantees that the government was going to offer these licenses anyways, how many of us were planning for that? Oh my God, how much money was invested in that?
Yeah, we invested a lot.
All of us did, right? Yeah. Most of us were planning on applying for a license and intending on
and then they came up with the stupid...
And then they changed it overnight.
Do you think next year they're going to... You don't think so?
You know what? I hate to be a pessimist, but I think they figured out that there's money in this game for the small people.
Yeah.
And they've cut us out.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're still fighting for it. You know, it's legal, but who's it legal for?
Right. Who's it legal for? Who still has access to it?
Who still has access? Not even just access, even consumption, man. I mean, I talk about the fact that months ago, if I was smoking in a prohibited area, it was an infraction.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a crime. It's an actual friggin' crime now.
Is it really?
It's a crime.
What do you
criminal. Meaning they can charge me. Yes, it's actually criminal now. Sorry, disclosure, I have cannabis in my purse.
Yeah.
If anybody calls 911 and decides to report that, they could say, she was driving wishy-washy on the road. Check her out. I'm sure she's an impaired driver. And guess what? I can lose my vehicle. I can get put behind bars because I have rolled joints in my purse. They have to be concealed in my trunk now.
Gotta be in the trunk.
I already have friends that have... Yeah.
Oh, we have to. Oh, right.
I have friends that have already been.
What if it's not in the trunk, but it's in your side thing?
The way that people have told me about it is that if it is accessible to the driver, meaning if the driver can reach around or grab it in any way, you're going to get charged.
Yes.
I tell people when they ask, what do I do? Get a little box that you keep in your trunk or your hatch at the back of the car where you cannot reach it and the passenger cannot reach it. Never mind the people behind you, because that's just
the truth.
Silly.
It smells like my entire car up, so I keep it in the side back anyway, because like otherwise I just breathe and I'm like, I can't breathe.
Well, as long as it is out of access to you, like you can't grab it and roll a joint while you're walking down the street or driving down the road, then you should be okay. Keep it where you keep. So
that's,
keep it where you keep your booze, right?
You don't keep. What, you can't keep? You keep booze in the back seat.
You're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to.
You're supposed to keep it in the trunk as well.
Well, what if you have a truck? You just need what's going to happen? This stuff is just.
You know what? My mom
will turn a blind eye.
I just picked up 6 cases of booze from my mom's birthday party for her 80th birthday party, and I was driving down the road thinking of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay, well, that's interesting. I want to know more because we got to finish here with Reena. I want to come back to that. Reena's trying to get the hell out of here, and it drives me nuts. She can never stay.
She does that to me too.
I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna kill myself if you leave. Yeah, that's a. You never hear? I don't know if I can tell the joke on. It's probably so inappropriate, so I won't tell the joke. Okay. Forget it. Oh. The difference between I'm Jewish, right? We all know that. What's the difference between
Okay, so I'm Jewish too. So tell me, because it's okay for a Jew to tell a Jew joke to a Jew.
Okay, let me tell my joke. So, what's the difference between an Italian mother and a Jewish mother? I'm going to say me too, because like I just did it too.
No idea.
So the Italian. Sorry. Oh, look, she's already getting called up. Sorry. That was your alarm to say go. You set an alarm. Yes, Reena set an alarm to leave.
Otherwise, I'll be.
Really? Where are you going?
On schedule.
Today, I'm part of a focus group happening at CAMH about
that's important.
The Caribbean community and the impacts of legalization on our community.
Oh, that's really sweet. Yeah. I'll tell you my joke later. Then hold on. I'll finish the joke.
With the whole creation of that system, and it was actually very successful. If you look at what it's accomplished, we've basically brainwashed our population for almost a century and erased it from humanity entirely. So, this is one thing where I can't look at and say, oh, well, it used to be wrong. It was never wrong. It was never wrong to begin with. It was something that a bunch of honestly racist folks created. They made up a bunch of lies about it. They demonized a bunch of communities and cultures, and have spent decades,
races, people like humans,
decades, investing money in brainwashing people to convince them that the oppression of these people based on a choice was valid. And, considering that, when you look at prohibition, there's nothing about prohibition that makes any sense. So, for anyone to try and justify that at one point it was not, a just activity, or that someone was in the wrong, in my opinion, indicates where their mind's at.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I guess they recognize that the law was unjust.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you do about the past? And where does that stop?
You apologize. The government needs to apologize. That's what we do. And we expunge the people who are paying the price for this new multi-billion-dollar industry that so many people are benefiting
lost their
from.
lives over.
Oh, God, yeah. I can just talk from a personal experience. I've lost people in my own life.
Right.
Like really deep, personal stories about how wrong this could really go. And I'm not the only one by any means. I'm just one who's been lucky enough to be given a microphone to talk about it.
And still coming up on the other side somehow.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many people that are still being held down, and it will continue to happen. It'll continue to happen.
Do you think the law is going to continue to change to become more just over time?
We hope so. So again, we are pushing for expungement. The main differences between that is...
Yeah, what does that mean?
So expungement is an all-out removal of that conviction, charge, what have you, from the record, so that if they ever ended up in police care, custody, or whatever, even job searches or whatever, it wouldn't come up anywhere because it's entirely removed.
Is that a doable thing? Is that...
Yeah.
So they could just do that. Yeah. So
they're
why
doing
wouldn't...
it in a few states.
Right.
It's a moral thing. It's a moral thing, and it's it's a matter of our government getting there mentally. A lot of them are responding. There are a lot of different senators and MPs coming forward from various provinces who have heard about what we're doing, and they're saying, yes, my God, finally someone's fighting for this. We're behind you. Da, 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 da. But it's, it has to be a really large majority, and convincing the government sometimes that this was a profound enough injustice to warrant an expungement is basically what we're working on right now, which is the tough part, because you're dealing with, I hate to put it this way, but you're dealing with dinosaurs who have never been affected. They're so far removed from, anything that most of the population has been dealing with, that it's hard for them to relate and consider it urgent enough to respond that way. They think that pardons are good enough. And as someone who worked on the law enforcement side, they don't mean dick all. Oh, sorry.
You can say that. You just have to, I figured, I just learned what this thing was. I thought it was to donate to charity, but it's to get me to stop swearing.
That's wonderful.
So my question then to you, what you mentioned, like homosexuality. I think it's clear in most of our minds now, like unjust law, homosexuality. But you're comparing, so you think it's comparable to say cannabis prohibition is equal to
because for a lot
anti homosexual law that existed.
For sure.
Hold on. Is it because, and so then I'm going to qualify that, is it because... Fuck it, I'm leaving that damn plug on the ground. My computer's charged. I'll put money in the thing. Leave your phone. Don't worry. You don't have to be there till 5 o'clock.
Oh my God, it's all the way in the city. It's in
What time do you have to be there?
5:30.
Oh, you got plenty of time. You're going the wrong direction.
I have to get gas.
Have to get gas. Gas
it's all good. It's all good. I'm not rushing. I'm just making sure I'm on time.
You'll have an hour and a half to get there. I'll give you 10 minutes. Okay. And then you'll 13 minutes. But this is so important for people to know. You're going to be on a focus group at CAMH who doesn't give a shit. Okay? Honestly, it's CAMH. At the end of the day, the people listening to this care more, and we need you.
It's important.
You like the guilt? I pull out my own culture. I'm I'm a master. Right? Yeah. Right. I'll tell you that, Joe. No. So my question then is, I learned all my guilt from my mom.
Poor dad.
Yeah, I feel you, brother. I feel you.
So,
and then good job. All over me.
Oh no!
If you, it's okay. It's fine. Okay. It's the same color as your thing. So whatever, maybe. So if you're comparing, let me qualify that.
Okay.
Is it that the law of cannabis is what you're arguing, or because I think maybe you have a better argument by saying, I think all the arguments around cannabis are unjust. I get that. But the argument being that the purpose of prohibition was for the discrimination and like holding down of specific cultures and blah 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 and all that, and that's the argument.
Feeding the prison system, feeding the law enforcement
system.
So
that's the argument. That argument is equivalent in my mind to homosexuality. But saying, cannabis itself is not comparable to a human.
Sure, but cannabis in and of itself is not just a standalone entity for a lot of people.
I agree.
Right? So the perspective that I take it from is a cultural perspective, and the fact that it's something that's personally it's been ingrained in my culture for thousands of years.
What culture is that? The Canadian culture?
Well, yes, the Canadian
I'm
culture.
Kidding. I'm just kidding with you.
Thousands
of course.
Years,
back when the lumberjacks were
when the beavers were yellow.
Yeah, plants were 20 feet tall, and we chopped them down.
Yeah,
so
this is log driver.
This is something that a lot of cultures identify with, as a form of self-care, as a form of sacrament and spirituality, as something that is
Day,
absolutely, and I know it's newer, but Rastafarianism, so there are a lot of cultures that identify with the herb not just as a vice or as a medicine, but as a sacramental tool that helps them through life and connects them to life and to the universe. It's vital for a lot of cultures, its involvement. So discounting that lifestyle is absolutely, in my opinion, a violation of human rights.
I agree. So that's the part that I agree with. That is, I agree with the whole thing, but I'm trying to say, where's the argument that makes it equivalent in my mind to something like homosexuality or race law that existed,
Okay, so if we take race law, primarily, it's obviously a specific group of individuals who have chosen to, partake in this.
And are in the prison system.
And are the ones who have been impacted.
Right.
So that alone makes it...
There has to be a correlation. There's no way there can't be a correlation when you just look at the prison system.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We know that. And then we have that judge
argument.
Who just admitted in the States, you saw that, who admitted to selling black teens to the prison system.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
We've known.
I missed this.
But the reality,
I was out of town.
We've known this has been happening.
Can you just tell me what's happening there?
It's just this stuff is just finally coming out because of technology and you name it. People are getting caught. They're getting caught left, right, and center.
Judges can own parts of a prison that they're directly taking judgment on.
Yes, responsible
it's
for
crazy. It's like the incentives are there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a business. The prison system is not a rehabilitative system. It's a business. It's an absolute.
Like I'm not.
It's a whole thing. Cash for Kids scandal
really?
in the prison systems. It's been
going
on
for years. It's not the first time. So all of it's a sham. It's all a sham. It has been for eons, and things are finally coming to the light. So again, yes, homosexuality is a biological thing. But if we're saying that that's something that people are choosing to identify with. People are choosing to identify with other things as well that are in line with cannabis culture. And again, it's the fact that it's impacted a very specific sector of the community that, raises brows and makes it a cause for concern more than anything.
Really?
So these guys they're from Pennsylvania. They sold over 3,000 children into the U.S. prison system, and they're doing 28 years in jail now for it.
Oh, at least they got jailed because
they're getting jail.
Yeah, at least they did.
Yeah. That is crazy.
Isn't that
and
something?
The judges now say that roughly 2 million children are sold like this every year.
What do you mean sold? Like,
someone will pay the judge to convict that kid and put him in jail just because he's black.
Not even pay the judge. The judge owns a stake in the prison where he's deciding.
So he's making the decisions. He knows that this prison, is lacking 200 prisoners. The funding is low. Yeah,
if you're a judge, you shouldn't be allowed to have a stake in.
No, that's conflict of interest 100%.
I don't how does
like
that
a physician
even happen,
owning
right?
an LP.
Yeah.
Just saying. Yeah.
Right? Our world. Yeah, so there you go. In a nutshell, there's so much more that we could go into, right, in terms of how it's impacted entire communities.
Yeah, but that's what I want to talk about. You're always leaving
me. I mean, just tip of the iceberg. Okay, so quick stat. more than 50% of our Canadian women's prison population is comprised of women of color and Indigenous women.
Wow.
And when you look at the makeup of these women in comparison to the population, it's so gravely overrepresented. Same with our males. And the majority, more than 80% of these crimes or convictions that people are serving time for, the women specifically, are they're drug convictions and drug offenses, and I used to work in the prison system, and it's so sad. Like, it's so sad. Most of these women are mothers. They're mothers. What do you think happens to their children?
Yeah, no, that's right.
They're removed. These are the kids that go into CS. They go to foster care. They go wherever. Why? Because their mother smoked a joint. Some of them, it was that simple. No joke. Some of them, it was that simple. Some of them were importing some cannabis because they had no other way. They went to Jamaica. They decided to come up with something. Other ones were growing. Other ones were selling a little bit of weed. Like, it's so ridiculous. And yes, of course, there were other drugs and whatever too. But the war on drugs was a big failure, obviously.
It was maybe a sham. I feel like it was a great way to make the prison system.
Communities.
This is super sad.
People lose jobs. I mean, God, I can't tell you how many jobs my own personal brother lost being stuck behind bars because he's hanging out with his friends and they're smoking a joint. And, of course, you can smell weed. So the cops roll up. It's a bunch of young black kids. So they harass them, check their pockets. What do? They put them behind bars. Mm-hmm. They have to stay there overnight. They come out the next day. Well, if you have to be at work at 8 a.m, your boss is not going to be very understanding about the fact that you were only smoking a joint and got put behind. Right. Like, I've seen this happen my entire life. And
me being on the other end of that, I've in high school was caught with 20 grams of cannabis smoking a joint, and the cop let me go free. Yeah, I got that happened to a person of color that probably wouldn't have went that way.
Yeah.
I grew up in the 60s, and we didn't have any issues. Sorry.
Just making me sick.
You're lucky.
Makes me sick.
You're very lucky.
You're very lucky. But
my dad was a whole other story. He came to Canada in '69, and let me tell you, that was night and day difference.
Remember
maybe
when
if he was
had,
white, it would have been a different outcome. But he certainly did not have that experience.
Remember when I had Blondie Khan on here, Bubba, or what was his name? Bubba Khan, Blondie Khan.
Yes.
The guy that was the Bollywood producer. Blondie Khan. And he, the dude opened up Woodstock with like Jimi Hendrix. He was saying, guy literally swam the Hudson River or Hudson whatever Bay in order to get into the U.S. And then they literally took him over to Hare Krishna's house, and then they're like, oh, you're the only brown dude we know, so you need to fly over to Woodstock. And he's like, I don't know what's happening here, but do an opening prayer.
Oh wow.
But he had no idea. So and that was back in the late 60s. Yeah. So the impact is just massive. And what do you do? How do you get involved? Because the more I think about it, and
write your MP. Tell them it's bullshit. Tell them what's happening is so unjust. Tell them about the stories. They have to. They have to.
They're accessible in Canada.
That's their job. Their job is
where's
to respond
your petition? Do we still have this petition?
It's still online. Yeah, it's still online. And as of the moment, it's still being termed as a pardon, because the unfortunate truth is that even though this proposal's been made, we're on the verge of an election here, man. Some pretty scary shit. And if folks take over, I've been swearing like crazy. If certain folks take over, I mean, let's be real. They're probably going to toss that out the water, because they couldn't give a shit about people who are serving cannabis.
You see why I swear so much at convicted people with high IQs.
Yeah, well, it's so. Yeah, we're working hard. I'm saying write your MPs, let them know how much of an issue this is.
I feel like most people don't think that, and me being one of them. And because I've spoken to my MP about things before, nothing happens. I feel like they're in there, they nod, they smile, and then they walk out there.
Yeah. It's a critical mass thing, though. It has to be from.
They have to respond when they get a certain amount of Yes, they do. And I hate to put it that way, but that's what we've been doing. We've been nonstop. We only launched about a year ago at the GMM, and I'm telling you,
how many people signed this petition?
We were looking for 10,000. I want to say we're about halfway there, which is pretty high.
Why? 25,000 people is nothing. 200,000. Why?
It should be easy. out.
So how do we tell the general population? Because that's who so we know we talk to ourselves all the time.
Yep.
5,000, our community is maybe 5,000 people strong. So and this will be my last question to you, and then you can promote this thing. So, hold on.
How do we get it out there?
Changed to microphone.
Where's the argument? I mean, the argument now makes sense. To me, homosexuality and race law all existed, and this has nothing to do with cannabis itself. It's more the
social justice issue.
It's a social justice issue, and that makes sense to me because that's the argument. Yeah. If a government that we happen to live world, there's a lot of unjust laws. Yeah. You can eat as much fat as you want all day. I think that's unjust. Yeah. Yep. You can eat 100,000 Timbits and nobody will care. Right.
Pop is cheaper than water.
Right. So there's a lot of unjust laws we have that aren't related to human rights, and somehow drug prohibition, cannabis in particular, cannabis prohibition is tied to culture and race and all of those things.
For sure.
And I'm trying to figure out how, I look at somebody like my wife, and I look at that entire fitness population. I just did this thing this past week with Elevated
Angelina.
Culture. Yeah, Angelina. She's coming here next week.
Yay. Oh,
yeah.
I'll have to come and see her then.
Yeah, so she's coming on to talk about blessed edibles, and this woman is insane. She's older than I am. She looks like she's 20, and she shredded. We're talking. I would not.
Every day on her
I would not mess with this woman if if I was fully padded up. She's a Muay Thai fighter who's fought. She fights in Thailand. She's got pro fights on her, but she's a huge cannabis advocate. Anyway, he's coming on with Nate. And
Nate.
Yeah, Nate's coming as well. So that'll be interesting, right? He's an MMA fighter. He's fought all over the world, and he's an advocate for cannabis as well. So they're coming on next week to talk about what they do. The point being, how do we talk to because I think the largest impact that we can have today on progression of society is hitting that target market, because those are they're not the baby boomers, they're done. I'm talking about the fit, healthy that are making the largest impact on today's world. How do we hit those people? And that's where you got to hit.
So
these Instagram influencers.
Yeah. So obviously it has to be an issue that's of concern to them as well, right? Mind you, in addition to it being something that impacts marginalized communities, our youth are very vulnerable now too.
Yeah.
A lot of these people who have never encountered any concerns with cannabis may end up being parents who have to bail their kids out of jail. Right. So, and this is very real. This is society's about to change dramatically. I had my insurance broker call me, and she was bragging. This is a woman who I used to sit beside in Windsor 10 years ago when I sold insurance. And this woman was so against cannabis. And she told me that because of me, this year she gifted her daughters a joint in each of their Christmas cards, and it's changed her life. And now she can sleep every night and yada, 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 right? So it's the approach for these people. I guess, which way are you looking at? Are you looking at it in terms of selling it to them as something that they could use to enhance their lifestyle, or are we enlightening them and educating them about, all of the nasty stuff, that's been in the past, all of
I'm talking about you've got to leave, by the way. It's 4:00, but hold on. We'll leave those with us.
Thank you. I will.
I'm talking about how do we get that population? I know how to engage them for cannabis. I can convince, I come at it science-based, and they listen to that. Yeah. And I put myself in that category too, the fit, healthy. I sound so healthy. The guy that's dying over here. But what am I saying?
How do we engage them?
Right. How do we engage them about this cannabis amnesty stuff? Because that's where I think there's going to be the largest voice.
So we are working on that, actually. We're working on a sub-campaign at Campaign for Cannabis Amnesty right now that is actually slotted and geared towards, marketing towards certain demographics of people, like, dare I say it, like the soccer mom. And
but those are the people.
The big consumers, right? The big consumers who really don't have a lot of experience with this industry and don't know a lot about it.
That's what you need to hit.
But they know the difference between right and wrong.
Right.
And these are people who are willing to take.
Do they? That's what I'm saying.
Hopefully.
Like, I think
and these are people who are willing to take a stand on things if they understand the impact of the issue. Right. So our job is helping to educate people on what's actually transpired and the tremendous impact it's had on people, the loss of lives, the broken families, communities that are still putting things together. Like the impact is just so great and far that, we could easily illustrate it from one point or another, but we're certainly working on those campaigns. We're working on, targeting certain groups. We're going into certain communities, creating different kinds of events that are, maybe more lifestyle branded to get people to come out talking about cannabis. What are your concerns? What are your concerns about this? And we'll tell you, what's been happening. Is this of concern to you? Is this something that you think is important to change? Is this something that you believe in? We're getting a lot more engagement, if you will, and interest. But, our work is certainly cut out for us because we are battling 100 years
battling more than that.
Of
shit.
Yes. Of our entire system with thousands, what am I talking about? Millions of dollars worth of money poured into PSAs and campaigns that have convinced entire populations to remove this from our entire, lifestyle, if you will.
Convinced an entire generation.
From existence,
Reena,
So,
it was amazing I'm worried for you.
Thank you.
Cannacrawl, what's the story?
Yeah, so I actually have a few things coming up if you don't mind.
So
very cool. This Saturday, I've also joined forces with Organja Society. The Organja Society is a grassroots group that is, they're about a year old now, but they're basically one of the only ones in the city of Toronto that's recognizing and representing sacramental rights and the cultural rights. And,
interesting.
Talking about
What's it called?
Organja Society. And on Saturday, we are having an event called Indigenous Women in Cannabis, where we're going to be talking about a lot of these issues. So myself, a lot of other women who identify as Indigenous or Indigenous to the culture will be there talking about a lot of the underlying issues that are not really coming forth, but that are really plaguing our community at the moment and, kind of keeping us back from being involved, if you will. So that's this Saturday, March the 30th.
All right, let's see that.
Thank you. And then we have a couple other events. We've joined forces with them to create a really unique market experience in Toronto. And this also will feature specifically people of color and Indigenous craft producers.
Cannacrawl? I thought Cannacrawl's here.
So we have two. We have one that's happening in Toronto on April the 13th.
Which one am I at?
Organja Society. And you're going to be here in Hamilton for 420, the big 420 on Saturday. Place to be. So we will be hanging out and having a bunch of fun.
Who's podcasting at the one in Toronto?
The one in Toronto, nobody. Do you want to come out?
I might.
It'll be busy. It'll be a really cool event. This is the first one of its kind, but because it's very unique, it's going to get a lot of attention.
I can be a woman of color.
CBC is going to be there, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they will be there. So, it would be good exposure for everybody, and this is something that needs attention.
For sure. And, I think for my point of being there is to raise awareness and education around mindful consumption, which is what we do.
Sure.
And so I think that's important.
And it's funny that you say that because the Rastafarian community is actually not about getting blitzed and blazed and wasted. It's about opening your mind and using it as a tool to connect with your brethren and to connect with your environment, nature, and become your higher and bestest self. They actually frown upon overindulgence, which is very interesting because it's just the opposite of what a lot of people perceive.
Of course. Well, they take the law of the Nazarite, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like how difficult, and you like the I don't even know the word because there's a word that I don't have. What's that called when you like follow the rule? You have to be.
Edge? I don't know.
No, you have discipline.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah, discipline. No, discipline. You have to have a lot of discipline to do that.
For sure.
Okay, so
a little wooden.
All right, we'll keep
it's a chalice. That's a chalice.
Awesome.
So there will be a steamed chalice at the market. Actually, they will have steamed chalices straight from Jamaica that they will have available for purchase as well.
Cool.
But yeah, it's going to be a really unique experience because it's bringing back the cultural vibe, as well as the craft. And these are people, I'm a part of people who've been doing this for, again, like I said, thousands of years.
Right.
We're not asking the government to subsidize us or give us any help. We're just asking them to leave us alone and let us do what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And not put us in jail for it.
Yeah. All right. Reena, I love you. Get out of here, woman. Want to give you a big hug? Love you.
Thank you for coming. Always a pleasure.
Oh, hugs.
Thank you.
All right, get out of here. We got to continue.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see. You can come by next week because Blessed Edibles, Angelina will be here with Nate, and we're going to be talking about fitness and industry stuff around cannabis and what they're doing and how she stays so damn fit.
Yay! And she does.
Yeah.
She sleeps doing crunches.
She likes sleep crunches. Al, you got to see this. It's insane. Never seen anything like it. Oh, is Al?
Al, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Al's there.
He's here.
Can you hear us, Al?
Yep.
Good. Beauty.
Just having some Shatterizer.
Let's switch gears a little bit. And, I wish we can bring in Lucas if he could sit here. We can chat it up.
So
summertime's coming up. Let's switch gears altogether now.
Summertime is
For
coming
the
up.
last 20 minutes here, let's talk about growing cannabis.
Getting ready for your outdoor grow?
Because, now that cannabis is legal, this is the first summer that we're having, and people are going to want to grow cannabis. Are you allowed to grow cannabis outdoors?
You are. You're allowed to grow up to 4 plants per residence.
Okay. And
as long as your residence does not back onto a school or places that children frequent.
Ooh, what is that?
So that considers church.
Oh.
That's the first thing that came to my head.
Actually, surprisingly, it classifies catwalks in there. So, like, catwalks, if you're onto a catwalk, you actually can't grow cannabis in your backyard if people complain. If they complain, you have to chop it down.
What about a golf course? Children don't frequent golf courses.
Not really. I did as a child, but...
Yeah.
But I was an anomaly, I guess. And I was using cannabis on the golf course. So.
Okay, yeah, I mean, most people do. Well, they have a golf course here now that's dedicated
to... Canopy opened our own...
Is it Canopy that opened
the club, the golf course, yes.
They opened it?
Yes. Yes,
wow.
they did.
Canopy is like taking over, man.
Huh. Yes,
Canopy.
On that note, Canopy just released today their partnership with Seth Rogen for his recreational cannabis line called... Hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up.
This is going to be the trend, right? Celebrities.
So celebrities are not allowed to endorse anything in Canada. Seth Rogen is the owner and founder or co-founder of this company. He's not being paid to promote it in any way.
There you go.
He has not been,
owned by.
Also, he has not gone to any cannabis events. Of
course not.
He stayed completely separate out of it, so he can
he not
have his own brand.
Either, though, right?
He can't say anything on Twitter, nothing. So the brand is called Houseplant Cannabis. Their canopy is growing it currently at their headquarters. It's going to be for sale in the retail space.
We don't need to promote it.
Resale in British Columbia.
It's
hitting shelves in April. That's why people wanted to hear it. That's what the article was about.
Okay.
It's hitting shelves in April, and people seem to be very excited about it. It's only a sativa to start. There's no indica, though.
All right. Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. Before we go on to the rest of the news, let's give people some stuff. We'll do the last 5 minutes of news.
So your home grow.
What do people need to know
for
their home grow?
Before
where do you get your seeds?
Where do you get your seeds?
With that.
From the licensed producers, you can purchase them
legally. So you don't need they'll give you 4 little cute tiny seeds.
You can buy them from licensed producers, yes.
How much are they selling these seeds for?
That you have to call to find out. There's a huge variance in it right now. And actually...
Dude, I saw somebody selling a gram cannabis
for $16.
For $16 at Delta 9.
The average price of clones I've seen has been $75 a clone.
That's a clone.
That's a clone.
You're not getting a seed.
Black market's about $5.
Yeah, no. It's crazy.
So there's
a clone is just a cutting of a branch.
Huge difference in there in price. Seeds, it's weird to think of, but guaranteed feminized seeds from an LP. I'm guessing 4 seeds is going to be around $100.
It's crazy.
I'm
So
guessing,
insane.
but that's
Or 23 cents on the dark web.
oh yeah, on a legal market. It's not even technically seeds were legal to sell until the new regulation. The
Right.
seeds were considered a novelty item because they have no compound of CBD or THC.
They have
in them.
nothing.
They have nothing in them. But now it's actually illegal to sell them. But before you would be able to get 4 feminized seeds, depending on strain, from anywhere from $40 to $100. So they're at the high end of that retail.
Okay, not bad. So then what do you need to know?
So what you need to know is you're going to want to make sure if you're doing it from clone, you're going to want to veg them out a little bit inside for about maybe 15 days, somewhere in that
So you
length.
start off in a little, all you do, you put the seed in some soil.
Well, put it, honestly,
Just
at
tell
this
people,
point,
like,
put
give
it
them
in
a
your
little-
front window.
Right, in like a little pot.
In a little pot. And if you have a clone, it's probably going to be in a Rockwell puck or in a soil puck.
Yeah.
Just transplant it into a 5-gallon pot. Let it veg for 15 days. Go outside. Make sure you're planting between May 24 and June 10th. If you don't plant in that range, you probably won't get a full harvest at the end of the season because you've planted them too late to fully flower, especially if you're planting a sativa because they have a longer flowering period.
Wait, May 24 to June 10th?
Yeah, you want to plant before June 10th. That's always my rule of thumb because usually what happens is look at the way farmers grow corn. They're going to spray their fields usually May 24 weekend, and then they're going to plant all their crops the following weekend.
Right.
Properly time their harvest in October.
All right.
Cannabis grows very similar in that way.
Oh, you know what I just remembered, Al?
What's that?
Take a break.
That's okay. We only got 5 minutes. So
All right. So when you're planting outside, you're going to want to get a good soil, organic live soil preferably, but if not, ProMix Mycorrhizae soil is one that I've always used routinely, especially for outdoor growth. Dig a 5x5 hole, fill it with soil, and plant the plants.
How many plants do you dig in?
5x5, 4. You put 4 plants in 5x5 area.
Really? And aren't they going to overlap on each other? Cross-pollinate?
So you can do it like that, but when I grow outside, I put them into tomato racks, and then I spread it out so they don't do that. Or I'll tie them to a fence or tie them to something so they won't do that.
Interesting.
Keep them separated. Or you could plant them in a line. You could do it 2 foot wide, 8 feet long.
Can every 2 feet plant another?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every 2 feet.
And then you just let it grow.
Just let it grow.
Nothing you need to do to it.
If you want to help it in its early stages, use things like nitrogen. Nitrogen-rich soil is very good for the veg stage and initial growth of the plant. That's why, again, planting in cornfields helps because it's very nitrogen-rich soil.
Do you want to prune these plants while they're growing?
You're going to want to prune them probably 3 times throughout the year is usually about what I do. Usually I would prune at the beginning of July, the mid-August, and then 3 weeks before I'm going to harvest, I'm going to strip down a lot of the leaf off and just let the buds kind of harden up.
And how long would you expect? I mean, every cycle is a little different depending on what strains. And
well, when you're growing outside, you don't really manipulate the cycle. It's
you just let it happen. The sun. Right. So how long are you going to wait for? How long can you expect if you plant May 2-4?
You plant May 2-4,
you're
going to be harvesting end of September into October. Rule of thumb is if it frosts, chop them down.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Frost is going to create problems within mold and things like that. Powdery mildew, anything like that. You don't want to leave it in the frost.
What do you want to watch out for?
What do you want to watch out for? You want to watch out for spiders mainly. Spiders will nest in the underneath the leaves in looks like little balls of spider webs.
So if there's spiders, I'm not going nothing.
All you got to do is go in and remove those leaves as they come about because that's how you'll get spiders.
So you touch spiders
all the time. I rip spiders off my plants. They're bad for it.
Yeah.
Good bugs you want on your plants, ladybugs. Ladybugs eat all of the bad things for cannabis, like aphids, fungus gnats, all that crap. Ladybugs eat it. Ladybugs? You can't buy ladybugs. They're really expensive. But ladybugs don't eat the plant. They eat everything that hurts the plant.
So you just toss them on top of your plants?
Ladybugs are amazing for cannabis plants.
Really?
And in bigger growth, they have
you look at an IPM program.
Do ladybugs eat spiders?
I don't think so.
Because I put them in my house.
But ladybugs will eat spider mites. They'll eat spider mites.
It's just remember, what was that movie where the ladybugs were all over that house? It was they were growing cannabis inside, and she had a problem with the family was growing cannabis in this movie.
Nematodes, parasitic wasps, and ladybugs are probably the three most common things I've used, at least in the LP world.
What's a parasitic wasp?
It's a wasp that doesn't sting you, that eats aphids and stuff. They're small wasps.
You find those?
You buy them from horticultural stores.
Who the heck would want to buy a wasp?
They eat all the bad bugs in your grow rooms.
Do they eat other bad wasps?
No, they're smaller. They're way smaller. They don't sting. They don't sting at all. They don't sting at all.
Yeah, no, that's why I want to know if they eat the bad wasps that do.
No.
So I get those.
They're just little.
Okay. Well, those are some good tips. Thank you. Anything else
you're flowering out,
we'll do some
add a little
news.
bit of phosphate and phosphorus into your feed.
Where do you get that?
You can get it at any hydroponic store, or you can, if you buy a good organic soil, it will be right in there.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you for that, Tyler. Last little bit. Tell us a little bit of the news, what's happening in the cannabis world. It's time for news.
Big announcement for WeedMD, which was really cool today. They got the approval for their first phase of their outdoor expansion, which will be 50 acres.
Wow.
They're going to begin their first rollout this, spring, starting to plant out, and then they're going to harvest this fall, and then they'll be fully completed the project by 2020. That's hard to say. And
yeah, you can't say 2020 now. No. It's like 2020.
Yeah, it's weird. I went to say 2020. That's what I went to say.
Sounded weird. Yeah.
But anyway, they're expecting this to increase their annual yield to up over 100,000 kilograms, which will be a huge boost to the shortage in the cannabis industry right now.
Wow.
And because it's outdoor, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm assuming it's going to be a CBD grow, because it will be broken down into extractions due to there could be certain pests that get on it in the outdoor, which wouldn't make it valuable for vaping or smoking. But you can extract everything from it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What else is going on?
I said the stuff about Seth Rogen.
Right.
Like I mentioned 2 weeks ago.
What about the cannabis laws?
This is what I'm getting into. So 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that there was a bill being put into Congress in the House committee in the U.S. about making it legal to put cannabis money into the banks.
Yeah.
So there was an article written about it today saying that they're voting on Wednesday, and the final vote from estimates has seen that it's going to be in favor of letting the banks take control of the money, because they see that the money is going to be going into the black market instead of the federal market. So they're going to start pulling
it's funny because this, how we've been saying this stuff for the last 20, 30 years, it's from black market. All of a sudden, I think this is just their excuse, right? The money's going to go to the black market, so we'd rather take it ourselves.
It's not like they didn't know that.
It's not like they, right. All of a sudden they have some new fucking epiphany that this is, screw it, I'm just putting this money in here, that this is new. Where was it going until you decided that? Exactly. Oh, come on. It's such bullshit.
So it's now 61% of the U.S. is in favor of legalizing cannabis. So it's well above 50% now.
And here in Canada, they've decided that you can, they're going to tax.
Edibles. THC component of edibles, each milligram will cost you a cent in tax.
Yep. But CBD won't be taxed.
CBD will not be taxed, which makes me assume that they're leaning towards taking the taxation off of medical CBD as well.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem. Just on the last note, if I could breathe. Not only is we are changing the discussion that we were talking about cannabinoids now being more specific, talking about THC, CBD. Mm-hmm. It's not just CBD that's beneficial. THC is also beneficial medically, people, and I don't want to come across, and I don't want other people to come across to say that there's no medical benefits.
That's starting to happen.
Yeah, it's starting to cross over, and they're starting to say there's no medical benefit to THC.
Like if you want to just get high,
that's totally untrue.
Well, it's like the patient that says, I'm in pain, but the CBD is not helping.
Right.
Well, it's because you're taking 0.2 THC help activated.
Right. You're taking just THCBD. And there are a lot of benefits medically, including pain management, when it comes to the use of THC. It's just some of the side effects. Whenever we talk about side effects, they're also associated with THC. So as time goes on, we're going to figure out how to deal with the receptors that they deal with, and how to knock out problems with THC. Education is key.
How many cannabinoids?
And everybody's doing.
How many cannabinoids are there now?
There's over 165 cannabinoids, and they're still developing them. They're going to come out so much over time, and then one of my last problems, and it's not a problem, education is key, but being able to get that education to the masses and to the population, disseminate it properly, that is really important. Because right now, every LP is coming out with their own damn educational program. Everybody's got education. It's funny because when I started doing it, everyone's like, oh, I don't care about education. The LPs are like, oh, we want to make money. And I'm like, guys, we have all this education. I'm sitting literally right here I said that for 5 years. Oh, it's all about, no, we have to make money. Nobody cares about your education. And then all of a sudden now, every fucking LP and their grandmother and grandfather,
and they're not telling the truth.
Has some educational program. The problem is, who are they disseminating it to? Where is that information going? It's
Old
not
people.
going to the people that need to hear it.
It's going to seniors, and they're having them. Their seniors associations in Ontario, anyways, are having these LPs. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I'm doing talk sessions. But they're having LPs come in, and they're basically recruiting senior citizens in their own homes, in their nursing homes, and then signing them up, and then they get cannabis, and they don't know what to do with it at all.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, it's a big problem right now, and they're disguising all this stuff as education.
That's why really... I'm going to start having people like you come in to our lounge at Gunjanistas and sit down and actually talk to people about truth.
It's the only way, Al. The only way, and this is what I was telling this guy today on the phone with. It's one thing to have all these educational programs, which are all theoretical and go nowhere.
Yep.
And the next thing, but it's another thing to actually sit in front of somebody and be able to talk to them like a human.
Yep.
Because that's what people need. They don't, I can read all this shit online. It means nothing. Mm-hmm. We need to sit in front of people, and you need to tell them the practical stuff, stuff that Tyler sits here all day and does.
And I know you guys do that in your educational center there, and we're going to be doing it on Thursday evenings at Gunjanistas. And I just also want to just tell people quickly about our HOPE program, which is Hamilton Opiate Prevention Experiment. And what we are doing is we are reaching out to anybody who wants to get off the opiates. If you need a hand, please come and see us. We've got lots of information. We're going to have people like Ira around to help with his clinic, and we're hoping that we can give as much real information out to people about alternatives to opiates.
Where can they find out about HOPE? And in case people need to hear about it, hold on. In case people want to know more, it's Hamilton Opioid Patient Experiment.
Yes, and you can find us on the Gunjanista website at gunjanistas.com, or you can just look us up on Facebook, HOPE, Hamilton Opiate Experiment.
So if you're interested, gunjanistas.com, HOPE, also on Facebook.
Yeah, and we have our reach out drop in is on Thursdays from 2 to 4:20. Please pop in if you need some more information, or we can give you a packet as well.
Thursdays 2 to 4:20. That's awesome. Al, that is like, you see, they have all these. The city of Hamilton, they have, and most cities have all these working groups on how they're going to deal with the opioid crisis. Everybody talks a lot. And then I see something like this show up where people are actually doing. You're going to get a lot of haters because you're actually doing something. And no, that's good. Yeah. It's good. Don't be afraid to have haters. I think Mike Hart put that out there today. Yeah. If you're doing something, that's right. And those if you're doing it, people are going to hate you because they wish they were doing it first.
Yep. Well, we're getting support from the community. And we go out to the methadone clinics and stuff like that. And to the luncheon places and to to the missions and stuff like that, and we're going to be going and talking with the people who are running these places and just saying, like Hamilton is up within the top 10 of North America with the worst opiate epidemic.
Okay, Hamilton is the worst in the world. I don't top 10.
Okay.
We are the worst in the world. Like per capita, relative per capita. Like we are the worst. Ontario is the worst.
You know those stats.
Yeah. I mean, so we're up at, for opioid overdoses, I can give you the stats pretty much. You're at an average of somewhere between 10 and 13 per 100,000 people who die. And that's Ontario.
Yeah.
Hamilton is over 15, right? And that per 100. It's massive. It's massive. As a coroner, we see this all the time. It drives me absolutely mad. And, it'd be funny, Al, if, a bunch of potheads stood outside a methadone clinic and started picketing. What's with the methadone? Yeah. How awesome would that be? But, right. Yeah. Al, I think that's amazing. I'm 100% on board, and I want to be involved.
No, thank you.
And, really important to do.
Jack was telling us when he was on my show a few weeks ago that there's an actual group going on at McMaster's that are studying it. Like there's something really big going on over there. So I'm hoping that, but through talking with you about it and hear other people hearing about it, that we can get some people to come in and talk to us about how we can get out there even more. Because I want to put a lineup. I want to put a lineup down King Street in the old village of people that we can help. Okay, like it's that serious that we have to do this.
It is that serious, and I'll tell you, we're 40 patients away from completing my 1,200 patient survey. Research study on cannabis for opioid substitution, and we have over a 60% of total patients enrolled in the study that have come off of their opioids 100%.
Can I give you one quick story before we go?
Of course.
A gentleman came in. He had heard about Hope, and he came in, and we were talking, and he had just come from his doctor. His doctor had just signed for him, and he wants to get off the opiates. He can barely sleep. He's just angry all the time. And, he came in last week and he was like calm and he had a smile on his face and he's looking for work again. And I've heard this story over and over. We have about 20 people that come in now that are regulars. Okay. Wow. And the stories are very similar. During the winter, they were walking up from the woods where they sleep by their fire, okay, to get a little bit of relief one day a week. I wish we could do it every day, but we can't. We can do it one day a week. So if you can donate some product, anybody, you can find me at Gunjanistas on Thursdays.
That's amazing. Thank you, Al. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Don't forget to check out my Instagram, Dr. Ira Price Instagram. Don't forget to check us out on iTunes and on SoundCloud and on Spotify. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube. What is YouTube? It shouldn't be Synergy anymore. It's now.
No, it's the Higher Estate.
It's the Higher Estate. Beautiful. Don't forget, guys. And have a blessed day. And love everyone. Peace.
Peace.
That
was good.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.